He was born Beck David Hanson. Sorry, that's wrong. He was born Beck David Campbell, but became Beck David Hanson in July 1970. He's an American singer, musician, songwriter, and record producer. He rose to fame in the early 1990s with his experimental lo-fi style and became known for creating musical collages of wide-ranging genres. He has musically encompassed folk, funk, soul, hip-hop, electronic, alternative rock, country and psychedelia. Born and raised in LA, Beck grew towards hip-hop and folk in his teens. Then he moved to New York City briefly in 1989 before returning to Los Angeles in the early 90s after time in New York working. He had his breakthrough single Loser, which became a worldwide hit in 1994. His first major release was Mellow Gold, but it wasn't actually the first album, and I will refer to a little bit of the discography on a slide. But his big breakthrough came through with the album Odelay in 1996, which topped critics' polls and won several awards. Mutations, which to be frank was really the first album that really captured my imagination. I had heard Odelay before, and I sort of assumed that I'd love it, and it was on quite often, but I wasn't really that au fait with it. But when Mutations came around, I got it on cassette here in Thailand, and it really grabbed me by the horns, really. Not that I've got horns, but I guess you probably understand the metaphor. Indie rock, alternative rock it certainly was. Produced by Nigel Godrich, famous for his work with Radiohead. It was in fact his sixth studio album. Let's quickly run through those others then. Golden Feelings came out in 93. Stereopathic Soul Manure was 94. Then Mellow Gold. And 1 Foot in the Grave followed Mellow Gold before Odelay. So that leaves Mutations as being number 6. Now the title Mutations, there was some thought that it might be a nod to an influential Brazilian band of the late 60s called Os Mutantes. Not sure about that, but there is a Latin-inspired song on Mutations, Tropicalia, which pastiches the work of Brazilian Tropicalia artists of the era. To the tracks then, the opener is Cold Brains. It's got a quivering psychedelic-like intro that leads to a very simple melody before we rejoin the Beatless sort of psychedelia. A lovely harmonica pokes through the hazy, lush-drenched rhythms, and I really like it. But the second track is definitely the standout, Nobody's Fault But My Own. Reminiscent of the beginning of the famous song on Apocalypse Now, The End. But it soon changes. That's what came to my mind. It's got a very lazy beat, and it bridges to the gem-like lyrics. There's some sitar that filters through towards the back end, but it's a beautifully sang song and definitely a standout. Will be lyric sheets to this review, by the way. To Nobody's Fault But My Own. Treated you like a rusty blade, a throwaway from an open grave. Cut you loose from a chain gang and let you go. And on the day you said it's true, some love holds, some get used. Tried to tell you I never knew. It could be so sweet. Who could ever be so cruel? Blame the devil for the things you do. Here's the chorus. It's such a selfish way to lose. The way you lose these wasted blues. These wasted blues. Tell me that it's nobody's fault. Nobody's fault but my own. That's it, nobody's fault, nobody's fault but my own. On to verse 2. When the moon is a counterfeit, better find the way that fits, better find the way that lights the way for you. When the road is full of nails, garbage pails and darkened jails, and then tongues are full of heartless tales that drain on you, who would ever notice you? You fade into a shaded room. It's such a selfish way to lose, the way you lose these wasted blues. These wasted blues. Tell me that it's nobody's fault but my own. And that's repeated 6 times. Great, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed that. I'm not going to analyse it here. I'm actually going to start up a series of videos on analysing lyrics because I feel they deserve it. And this will probably won't be on that list fairly soon. Lazy Flies comes in next. It's a very singable a la la type pop song, very upbeat. I like the glockenspiel on it. The drums are very strident, and there's that Eastern synthesized sound feel again that reappears as we head towards the outro. Then Cancelled Check, acoustic country twang steers us to the piano, and the violins lurch into the melody with that pedal steel guitar solo. It's got a sort of warp noise style outro as well, but very appealing. Is We Live Again. Strings again adorn this one, and there's some harpsichord that paints a very sombre mood of this ballad of sorts. Evocative, well constructed, picturesque type song, I felt. And then to Tropicalia, mentioned earlier. I love this Brazilian flavoured salsa. It's got a very addicted beat, and it has some touchy horns. The shuffling percussion gets a swaying of the hips, and it's got a hip hop samples added to it. And then a breathtaking guitar swims in on top of the rhythms. A major highlight amongst all the highlights on this album. Dead Melodies is next, very mellow and has some tasteful acoustic chords establishing a melody that nourishes the spirit, and there's a touch of flute thrown in as well. And then we get to Bottle of Blues, nearly 5 minutes. It's a very much a sing-along sloppy harmonica style blues. It harks back to way back when, I guess. A trifle long, but the chugging harmonica immersed with odd eccentric noises is a cinch, and the echo guitar spurts in the background. Very, very appealing. To O Maria, an impressively moody Spanish flavoured piano ballad on which Beck duets with himself. Drooling trombone and piano lets you step into the New Orleans bar. I like the guitar chord work on this as well. Next up is Sing It Again. Again has a Spanish flavour to it, more like a folk song, with stylish pedal steel guitar, and Beck adds an extra classy harmonica break towards the outro. This one is definitely a grower. And then we move to Static. It's got some atmospheric psychedelia that oozes out of the backdrop, with Beck's vocals painting pictures as we ease into the exit. And then the final track, described rather strangely by its title Diamond Bollocks. This is a bonus of sorts. Harpsichord skates over it before it starts up in this echo to Odelay, I felt. It clatters and twists with your psyche and bombs you with the mixture of beats. It's an amalgam really of what Beck's offers, and I love it. It's a part escape into the psychedelic 1967 era. Wispy vocals, but the synths are powered up, very 90s style, and the keyboards complete the exit. Very nice indeed. When this was released, I have to confess I played it to death. I've given it some space and hadn't really given it a listen for possibly a decade. When I listened to it a few days back, it reminded me how much it creates a glow when you're listening to it. This is very, very talented work by a very talented musician. I know he's released a number of albums since, but I don't think there's one that's quite matched this second offering. As sophomore albums go, if we believe that Mellow Gold, we believe if Odelay was the beginning, which of course it wasn't, the beginning of success anyway, this is as good as it gets. So that's my review of Mutations by Beck, and it came out in 1998. As I say, we will have some lyric sheets on there for you to have a peruse.